Hey, what's going on guys? My name is Brett Madigan and welcome back to Mad Again. Now I know that I haven't really made a video in a while, but I got a review code for The Evil Within 2 and decided, well, you know what, it runs weird, so let's just make a video about it. Alright, so let me just show you that I'm playing the game on Ultra, and during that transition, for some reason it drops frames. I'm not too sure why, but it seems to add like a post-processing profile or like post-processing effects when it does that, so that could be why. Like, there might be an issue with post-processing. Let me just disable anti-aliasing. But yeah, alright, let's go ahead and test the first scene. Alright, so let's get into talking about what I think might be the cause of this. The first issue that I assume may be correct is the fact that it may be rendering the entire scene all at once, rather than using something called occlusion culling, which is basically the game will only render what's in the camera view, and everything around, that's not being seen by the player won't be rendered. That's been a thing for a while, but the way that we can test whether that's actually the case here, or properly, I don't know, it's not really a defined test, but if I'm looking this way, it's about 53 to 54 frames per second, and then drop the field of view from 90 to 45. Let's see how much FPS I gain. Not a lot. I sort of dropped 2 frames. Like, it really depends on where you are in the world. It's not really like a distinct increase in frame rate at all, but yet in most other games that use occlusion culling, you'll find that you'll gain a lot of FPS when you change around the field of view. So I'm not really too sure what's going on here, other than it's rendering the entire scene, or there's an issue with the actual engine in the way that it deals with the cache file that's created in the temp folder. Not temp folder, the app data local folder. But one way, I don't know, we can't really test whether that's a thing, because this game automatically creates that folder, whereas games like Wolfenstein: The New Order didn't automatically create that folder. So for me, if I created that folder and then let the game automatically, transfer its own cache files to that location, it ran a lot worse for some reason. But yet when I deleted that folder completely, it ran perfectly fine. So without the cache files, it just ran fine. So I'm assuming that might be the same issue here, whereas the game is like copying those cache files into the location automatically. Even if you delete it, then it still does it when you load the game again. So that could be an issue in the way that the game is reading both the game files as well as the way that it's reading the game files and then the cache file and then spitting that into GPU memory maybe. But you'll also notice that, if you haven't noticed already, that my GPU is only using about 66%. And my CPU is stuttering between like 50% to 70%, sometimes 75%. So it's not actually being allocated or utilized correctly, which stems to reason, or begs the question, as to whether this game is actually optimized. Now, it feels as though the game is optimized for 30 frames per second, because, it's not really using a lot of the system resources, but yet it's still running above 30. So, maybe that was the target frame rate and they just didn't optimize beyond that. Maybe the idea of having an unlocked frame rate was brought into the game at a later stage of development, so they just didn't have time to test it. There's a lot of reasons as to why this could be the case, but then there's also display-based half 60 and 30 FPS VSync. I'm pretty sure there's only 2 types, and that's display-based and half display-based, but, whatever. Now let's go ahead and test what it's like if I turn down the settings, shall we? So this is running the game at ultra. If I run the game at low, hold on, before I do that, let me just test the frame rate this way. So getting 47-ish frames per second. And go to advanced settings, change that to low. Cool. Oh wait, it's enabled. For some reason it enables anti-aliasing by default, but the default anti-aliasing in this game, both FXAA and TAA, don't really do much. So I just keep it off. Okay, so I gained about 10 frames per second-ish. Just by going from ultra to low, which And the GPU and the CPU aren't really using much more or less than they were beforehand. So I'm not really 100% sure, other than the facts, or other than that, other than the reasons that I've mentioned. So let's go ahead and test a different scene. So if I go to chapter 2, and keep in mind that I'm still running the game at low. Alright, so on low, 63-ish% GPU usage and about 78, highest of 81% on one core, on the CPU core. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, it's my system, it's, you know, it's bottlenecking, whatever, it's too old, stop your complaining. Well, here's where I'd argue that it's not. If it was a system bottleneck, or either GPU or CPU, then either of those, or both of them, would be pinned at 99%. So that's where we can sort of rule out that the fact that, you know, it's not really a GPU or CPU bottleneck. It's something that it's just not optimized all that well. I don't really know how else to explain it other than what I've mentioned. That could be the case, or it could be the fact that the LODs, which are basically objects or lower quality objects that get rendered in further away than they are from the player or whatever, they might be screwed. So it might just still be rendering like the really high detail ones really far away from the player or something, or it's just a shader, or sorry, it's just a cache file issue. Because I'm running this off my SSD, if you think that's an issue as well, but it's not. Yeah, so it should be fine. It's still running off the SSD, so there's no reason why it should be dropping or why it should be performing this way. But anyway, let me know what your experience is like with the Evil Within 2 on PC, or if you have the game on console, let me know if there's any issues that you've found. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.